set.
Welcome to the Town of Richmond meeting of Water and Sewer Commission. It is April the 7th, 2025. Are there any public comments? All right, no public comments. Moving right along. Additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? Anybody? Nope. Okay, no changes to the agenda. So first up is purchase orders first or warrants? Yeah.
Let's do purchase orders, and sometimes there's a purchase order for an invoice. So let's try to do it in the right order if we
We've got
can.
2 purchase orders, right?
Morgan, this is Bard. I move to approve purchase order number 4921 to M&T Bank for the East Main Street Waterline in an amount of $25,139.95.
Morgan, this is David. I'll second.
David seconds. Discussion. I think this is this an annual payment on this one?
Yeah.
So this, okay.
And do you know offhand how many years are left on this one?
If we look at the budget documents, this is the East Main Street Waterline loan.
I think yes, 15 years left.
25 here, 25 there. Before you know, it's real money.
Okay, East Main Street Waterline loan, 30 years, matures in 2047.
Kind of over the horizon.
Yeah, I think that was the one that I think was getting done.
We had to get that done before the state came through and totally rebuilt Route 2.
Say, was that in 20?
The nick of time.
I think that was in 2018 or 2017. I remember driving through the traffic, taking my kids to school, but they were at the age where they liked seeing the big trucks. So it was kind of a nice ride for us. So anyway, so yeah, we got a little ways to go on that one, another 20 years.
Another
I'll
20.
be at retirement age when that one's done.
We both.
I wish I could be that positive about where I'll be. Okay.
All right.
Any
so-
further discussion on this motion? So please state your name and how you vote on this.
Aaron, I.
David, Bard,
Morgan, aye. Motion passes. Second up, purchase order 4923.
Morgan, this is Bard. I move to approve purchase order number 4923 to U.S. Bank for the Jericho Road loan in the amount of $4,005.73 for water and $3,147.36 for wastewater.
Morgan, this is David. I'll second.
David seconds. Okay, discussion. This is the same thing, just another loan, right?
Yep, and this is the Jericho Road. It matures in 2032, so 7 or 8 years.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And this one we pay, I think there's 2 interest payments a year and 1 principal. So yeah, this is just the interest, which is quite a bit, which is sort of proof as to why we've been trying to get away from loans.
Yeah,
Quite expensive.
eats up. It does.
This was a big project a number of years ago. I don't know the full amount of it, but it was, obviously we're paying it for like 20 years,
Right,
pretty
right.
large.
But this wasn't part of the installing the water tank.
No, this was water line and wastewater line and then repaving, I think realignment of Jericho Road as
Oh.
well.
And sidewalk.
And the sidewalk with the grass strip in there that we have a stormwater permit on that'll be coming to the select board shortly. So, yeah.
Nice sidewalk. I enjoyed walking my kids up that sidewalk. All right, yes, good. Any further discussion? If no further discussion, please state your name and how you're voting.
Aaron, I.
David, Bard,
Morgan, aye. Motion passes. Okay. Next up, we have, I think, 3 warrants. Electronic warrant, the amount of $36,224.90. Another check warrant in the amount of $34,756.65. Last warrant of $381.48. Would anybody like to make a motion on the warrants?
Morgan, this is David. Move to approve.
This is Bart. I will second that.
Discussion? No further discussion, calling for a vote on the 3 warrants.
Aaron, I.
David, I.
Bart, aye.
Morgan, aye. Motion passes for all 3 warrants. All right, thank you. Okay, moving right along. We want to welcome the new water and sewer. Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot, I just want to jump. I'm just so excited about David's back.
David makes everybody happy.
Yeah, that's right. Minutes, approval of the motion for approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Morgan, this is Bart. Motion to approve the minutes of March 17th, 2025.
This is Jay. I will second that.
Okay, discussion, corrections.
No, it was fine.
Okay, all good. Calling for a vote, please state your name and how you want to vote.
Aaron, I will abstain.
David, I will abstain.
Bart, aye.
Jay, I.
Morgan, aye. Motion passes. The minutes have been approved. Now, moment we've been waiting for. And we'd like to welcome our new water and sewer commissioner.
Everything old is new again.
Yes, it is. Recycling.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
it's good to
That's
be
right.
back.
Mr. Cotta. Okay, thank you. We only have a minute to do that, so we're moving right along here. All right, next up, consideration of approval of water and sewer allocation for house at 340 Cochran Road.
I'm going to give an overview.
Yeah, just a quick, I have it right here, but is this for an expansion or?
So they're looking to put the house up for sale. In doing so, they noted their lister card stated there was a 2-bedroom house and that the basement was unfinished. So they wanted to sell it as a 3-bedroom house with a 1-bedroom apartment, which has been in for, I think, a number of years. So they had a permit for the 1-bedroom apartment that they got 10 years ago when they first put it in. But they never got a water and sewer allocation for the apartment. And then the 3rd bedroom, they wouldn't need a permit for because it's basically like taking an office and turning it into a bedroom. But they do need an allocation if they're going to sell it with 3 bedrooms. Bart and I talked a bit about why doesn't it flag the water department when you convert a basement to a 1-bedroom apartment? And right now the system, it really doesn't. So the zoning administrative officer gets it, says, okay, you're changing it over. There's no construction. You know, there's no new hookup to water sewer. Yep, you're fine. They check their boxes. If it was brand new construction, it would go to Steve to say, oh, they need a new connection. That would then trigger engineering review and allocation. So I talked to Tyler. I think we're going to just figure out how do we close that loop. So when somebody comes in for a 1-bedroom apartment or a duplex and they're not doing any more construction, then it notifies Steve or myself to go to their allocation. So right now, that's sort of the history and hopefully some steps going forward to correct the way that we do that. But for right now, they need the additional water and sewer allocation for both the bedroom in the house and the 1-bedroom apartment in the basement.
Okay.
And then one thing is the allocation data is really not there. And that's one of the things that we need to do going forward. And our new meter system will help us with that. As far as, but it's really the customer, the person's responsibility to come to us and say, look, I now have this, I need an allocation. We ran into this with Stone's Corral. They, their allocation went back to when they originally opened, where they were a brewery and had 15 seats?
Something like that.
And now they have 65 seats and are much larger. So the state caught that one on them and were like, you don't have allocation enough. You need to come back and get it. But
Morgan, do we know if this is just an example or a case example? If this were Stone Corral, did they have a building permit or any kind of town permit to increase their number of seats?
I don't think they did.
They had to come, I thought, to get
I think for the outdoor seating area.
but the indoor seating they did.
I don't think so.
Because they didn't expand the interior.
Right.
So I shared with Josh my experience in the city of Burlington. So after, I can't make up some of this stuff, long story, but basically I end up having to do a zoning permit and a building permit to replace the roof and to replace a fence that the neighbor knocked down and replaced. Leaving who did it aside, so I had to put in these permits. Both of them were reviewed by water sewer. And
For a
it was
fence.
obviously a very short review. It's a roof and a fence.
Right.
And there are questions in it. Are you expanding? Is this going to impact your water sewer capacity? Are you adding a bedroom? So it's obviously a short review, but they would not approve this, either as building or zoning, until it got water sewer review. And granted, it appears that 100% of the city of Burlington is served by their municipal water and sewer. But it appears 100% of their building and zoning permits are reviewed by water and sewer before they can proceed.
And I think that we do need to do something like that going forward. And that's how we get into this position where this residence was allowed for 10 years or so to have a extra bedroom, an extra, not only the bedroom I can see, but an apartment. Which they did come to the town for, didn't they?
They did, they got a permit for that
Right.
a number of years ago.
And, that should have been brought up at that point. They should have already had their allocation.
Oh, when they applied for the permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I know if you're in the water district and you want to dig a hole that's bigger than like 18 inches, you have to get a permit. So it seems like there must be a way to maybe add to the construction permits that like if you're in the water district, you need to get approval.
There's loopholes in that I have found. There are permits issued to people who are replacing stuff. So if you had a retaining wall and you come to the town and say, I'm replacing my retaining wall, they don't contact sewer and water, even though they're digging to replace this. So there are loopholes in that digging.
Well, I guess
part
I
of the
just meant like they have a water district, so
Right.
it seems like in the office, they could have the ability to be like, oh, I'm looking at this and this residence is in the
Right.
water
and sewer.
sewer, so like we need to ask them.
Or
So Morgan, I think we talked about this for a while, but a proposal, it seems to me we ought to ask water, sewer and zoning to get together and talk about a revised process by which permitting will include water sewer review. Whether separate units, it's really about the separate units.
Yeah.
That's the key thing in terms of our current fee structure.
Mhm.
And if there are other issues, because this has come up like building buildings on top of lines, which is something we'd like not to have happen.
Yep.
That's another reason anytime there's a building, there should also be a review to make sure it's not going on top of a line unintentionally. But I'm gonna ask that we ask the two departments to get together and come back to this group in like a month with a proposal of a process improvement by which we will catch these things in the future.
Excellent.
I hate to offer this, but it might make sense to actually look at the lister cards and compare them with the water allocations.
Yeah, I
I'm
think that's
guessing
good.
this
That's,
is
Well,
the only one.
here's
I'm sure it's not. My only concern with that is gonna take
the
hours and hours and hours of staff review.
allocations and our fixed costs that we charge are not the same.
Right.
And both Josh and I have looked at allocations and there's not a lot of records
Yeah,
out there because at one point it was, oh, you've got a house here, this is your allocation. But maybe now that house is a duplex or even a triplex. And, technically they should have come back to us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, the allocation, whenever I get an allocation request, I go right to Tyler Billingsley as an engineer and ask him, okay, what's the state website say? Because he knows how to go in there and search that. A lot of times they'll come back with, well, there's no data with this property. So at that point, so that's what happened with this one, but there wasn't data, so we looked at, well, the most recent lister card said it was a 2-bedroom house. So we sort of said, well, we assume it was built as a 2-bedroom house, so they had allocation for that. So now we're just gonna say what's changed, the additional bedroom, the additional apartment unit. But yeah, the allocation data, because like I think whatever 200 properties were here when they built the system,
It's
just
not,
became part of the
it's
system with
not
no
like
data.
there's a list
Yeah,
and.
I wish it
this
was
is
that
your-
simple.
This is your allocation.
so and to go back, I mean, we could theoretically, I mean, there's a number of things we could look at. I know there was a proposal. at
I
one
mean,
point
we're
to look
gaining
at-
on a lot of things, but that's one I don't want to take on yet.
There was a proposal when we did the reappraisal to look at every single property in town and say, well, if they've changed and they've added on an apartment or a garage, let's double check and cross check to make sure they have their permits, which you could do, but it would take hundreds of hours of time to go through and do each individual property.
And
And
then
how
what do
many-
we do with what we find?
And then, right, what are you gonna do? You find, how many are you really gonna find? So unfortunately, without sort of an unlimited staff to dive into that, it's gonna sort of be like, as it comes up and people want to sell and we come across it.
AI.
I think though that someone that's just paper files for permits and
Okay,
things.
if they're in electronic format.
Yeah,
they're
I hear ya.
Comparing two documents, even if
Could
they're
do that.
massive,
yeah,
is right up AI's alley. If we were to scan them in
yeah.
and generate, if we just
Hmm.
sat down and scanned them into PDFs, we could then say AI compare them.
You need a unique identifier across the two
Mhm.
data sets. though.
That was also,
Common
yeah, I
identifier.
remember that being part of the concern was like, yeah, how are you gonna do that? So I think, again, great projects, great solutions potentially with AI. Are we gonna tackle that right now?
No.
I'm sorry to say, I don't think we're gonna have the time to do that right now.
I think we're sort of straying away from the
Yeah.
motion that's on the
Sure.
table.
Who wants to make it?
Bring it
Been
back
made.
in, David.
Thanks.
Been made, hasn't it?
No, we were just talking about
Oh.
the process or why or how much.
Approving, you know. Would somebody like a motion, make a motion?
I'll make a motion for you. I move to approve the final water and sewer allocations for 340 Cochran Road for an additional 220 gallons per day of water and 140 gallons per day of sewer.
This is David, I'll second.
Any further discussion? It will be at some point, but we're finished here. So no further discussion. Please state your name and how you're wish to vote.
My name is Erin and I vote yay.
My name is David and I vote yay.
Barda.
Jay,
This is Morgan, I motion passes. Okay, we got that, and it sounds like there's a lot more to cover at some point of digitizing and using AI to. Good.
I will get with zoning and
Yeah, I mean, going forward, there should be a
Yeah.
catch that,
Sure.
you know, even if it's just a box to check, it'll catch these and,
Yeah.
you know, this is unfortunate. It sounds like the property owner did all the right things, but this still
Yeah,
slipped.
All through the clock.
So that's really on us, not them.
yeah, no, she was pretty frustrated. She's like, I got the zoning permit. How come nobody told me I needed the allocation when I did this
Fair
years
point.
ago? And I'm like, Crystal, you're right. Yeah, I agree with you. So
Yep.
I think it's a process we need to improve.
Good, good, no. Improvement. Annual meeting,
So you're gone.
16th of May to the 30th of May. So you're gonna just review if it's sort of set in stone somewhere that it has to be the third date after the first full moon of the.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be quite that, but there might be like a window of,
Oh,
60
that-
days or whatever. So I think there's some wiggle room, and if we can do it like the second Tuesday
Right.
or the first Tuesday after the first Monday, it does get kind of confusing. In June, then maybe we just do that so you can be here for it. So
Sure.
we can come back to the next meeting. We'll set it at that meeting.
I propose we have the annual Water and Sewer Commission meeting on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 in Italy.
Is that where you're gonna be?
Oh, that's where.
That's where I'm gonna be.
Oh, okay. So I
Madam
guess,
Chairwoman.
So yeah, you'll miss one regular meeting and we'll find another date for the annual meeting.
Okay,
I'm sure of it.
I was gonna say, if you, I guess we want to have that meeting, because the other possibility if we wanted to do it early would be that Thursday if people wanted to meet.
I think the regular meeting we just continue on with. People miss regular meetings, but if we can reschedule the annual meeting, I think we try to do that, and, to make sure that as many people can attend as possible.
So, good, okay.
Makes sense.
Further discussion on annual meeting date. Next up, consideration recommending that the select board accept the loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for step one design of flood mitigation project for wastewater pump and force main that we've been working on.
Yep, so this is one we've talked about a few times. Hoyle Tanner's doing the work on it. I think when we talked with Hoyle Tanner back in like September about the number of projects they were doing, this was one that they thought we were likely to get 100% subsidy on. Unfortunately, when we got the loan paperwork back, it only came back at 50% subsidy. However, the good news is we don't have to start paying it back till 2030. So we've got some time to plan and prepare for this. And I do think it's work that, well, A, it's already started, and B, I think it's valuable work. And if we could protect it from a future flood, it would be helpful.
Yeah, it's a good insurance policy. And more than that, actually, it's a need.
Yeah, it's not if, it's when.
And half price is still a good deal.
Yeah, that's right.
And we can pay it back with no interest.
Worse in this environment.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's really just a recommendation to the select board because they're the ones with borrowing authority, even though the water and sewer users will pay it back.
Okay, so we don't need to sign any of these.
No, that was just for information. You could make a motion to recommend to the board, and then the board, hopefully this evening, will approve it, sign the paperwork, and we'll get it rolling.
Great.
Morgan, this is Bard. I'd like to move to recommend that the select board accept the loan from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for step one design of a flood mitigation project for wastewater pump and force main, noting that the loan will be paid by receipts from the water and wastewater department.
For a second,
Morgan, this is David. I'll second.
any further discussion or questions? No further discussion, calling for a vote.
this is Aaron, I.
David, I.
Bard, aye.
Morgan, aye, motion passes. Good. Review of draft fiscal year 26 budget and rates.
And I meant to take rates off of the agenda.
You didn't get
I
these,
didn't,
did
I
you?
didn't, I forgot to take rates off.
Next meeting.
Yeah, so we can look at the budget. There was a few changes to that. I was hoping we'd have sample rates or draft rates by today, but we were unable to complete the meter reads in time to get that into, well, I think you did the reads.
The reads were done.
It's just all the other stuff that needs to happen after that, back and forth with Connie, so they're not all fully into the system yet. That's gonna happen this week. Bills will go out. At that point, I'll have 12 months of data of water and sewer usage that we can build the rates on. But if you guys want, we can look at the changes that we made. We made a lot of the changes that were suggested at the last meeting.
Yes,
Um,
because the rates will only change revenue rates.
what, the rates what?
We'll just change revenue.
Well, no, the revenue stays the same, but the rates is really, it's like looking at the tax rate, right? Like you can look at a budget and it can go up or down in revenue and other, expenses, but until you look at that tax rate, until you look at the rates, we're not going to really have a good debate about, is this the right figure for the
Right.
water and sewer department?
And I would add to that also that the water sewer customer sector, what percent they use then is a driver of that. And you have to know the most current data to know what percent
Right.
each sector pays for.
Whether it's business, commercial, or,
Yeah, and that's where we really get into, like the past couple of years, we've looked at, ooh, that one went up quite a bit. Should we change the percentage that we're allocating to fixed or to metered? And so yeah, we won't really know that until we have that data. We can dive into the rates.
Good.
So this could be, I think, a fairly quick overview. So the changes since last time we highlighted in yellow. Some of this is really, I don't think any of the numbers actually changed. It's more just formatting. So fund balance usage, this is unrestricted funds. So we made sure we noted that's unrestricted to be consistent with our naming. We split out supplies. The total here for water is still $2,000, but Steve wanted to see lab supplies separate from consumables. So we split that out.
Yeah, that was driven by a lot of the consumables we use now are lab supplies. And the cost of those are significant, so I wanted
Just
to
break.
be clear that it wasn't like toilet paper and paper that we're using, it's the chemicals and stuff, the buffers and stuff that we're using in the lab. That's why I kind of thought that it needed to be split out.
Sure.
And down here, we added in the number of years and the interest rate and when things mature for the different loans that we have, which was helpful earlier today.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
We also, under water reserves, since we talk about the, oh, sorry.
Is that, principal and interest?
I don't,
Is that just what's remaining?
so this is, so
Some of them have 0%, so they're not gonna have
A lot of interest.
interest.
in some of them, so we don't have a total amount on this, but this is water reservoir gap principal. So we make a payment for the principal, we make a payment for the interest. So the numbers you're gonna see are what we are paying in that fiscal year. And then this tells you that it was a 5-year loan and it matures in FY 25. So we don't have the total initial amount borrowed on this sheet. It's just how long was it for, what's the interest rate, and when does it mature? And then what's the actual payment of principal and then interest in each individual fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Yep, okay.
And we also we include the debt schedule in all the quarterly updates as well.
Right.
So if anybody really wants to dive in and see more detail, but I think this gives a pretty good at a glance, more information, like we were just talking about. Well, when does that mature? Well, in 25 years.
Yeah,
It's
that's,
helpful to know. And then down here, when we talk about reserve funds, we also talk about them as the restricted funds. So we wanted to make sure that we're using the same name throughout. So we added restricted funds to that section. Wastewater, very similar changes. We had it unrestricted to fund balance usage. We broke out the lab supplies from the consumables, slightly higher, a total of 4,000, just more in the wastewater. And added the loan information and restricted funds here on the water reserves.
Morgan, I have a question, I think, for Steve. Do we have any sense of the percentage of our supplies and equipment that comes from a different country?
I have alluded that fluoride does only come, there is only one supplier in the world for approved fluoride, and that is China. So you can figure a 34% increase in that.
Today.
yeah, today, tomorrow.
Much.
Do we pay for that? Or what does the state pay
No,
for?
we pay
We
for
pay
the,
for the fluoride, they pay for the pumps.
they pay for the pump and the containers and the
Okay.
stuff. We pay for the fluoride.
So that's gonna go up.
Going up
Um,
again.
They pay for some of the testing equipment, not the equipment, but they pay for the ampules and stuff. We don't have to pay for those.
I have a quick question with fluoride.
Sure.
How stable is it?
It's fairly stable. It's a powder. It's not a liquid and it doesn't, when you put it in, it's not gassing off or anything like, chlorine does. I had purchased early this year in January, 2 bags. Yeah, 2 bags. We cleaned the fluoride saturator out, put the 2 bags in. And we're still getting fairly decent numbers off of it, so I haven't had to add any yet. But in a typical year, we use like 4 to 5 bags,
Okay.
which is considerable more than what was used in the past, but it gives us our numbers that we want. Sorry, David, but so, and it's, I think our bags are in the 250 range right now. So
How many bags a year?
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
4 to 5, so we'll have to order. I probably should have ordered a couple, and I hadn't.
So instead of 1,000, we'll be paying like 1,500.
Probably.
So it's an increase, but it's not
I mean,
like,
last year,
thousands
the
of
state
dollars.
did kick us a free bag.
because our numbers were so good, right? It was a
Right.
bonus.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're like, hey, we've got a free bag of fluoride if you want it. And I'm like, sure, bring it down.
But it's, I mean, I guess we could add $500 to the budget somewhere if we thought, but the tariffs could also go away in a month. It's really.
The other
unclear.
chemicals like our sodium are large, expensive chemicals. I had a discussion with the sodium aluminate company. They said right now they were looking at 3% increase in price, even with tariffs. The polymer that we use, we're using significantly less of it. We've got a better price because we're buying in bulk. And I have heard maybe that would go up by 10%. The chlorine, they're like, it's this price is the price, and I would really love a different chlorine supplier, but we're stuck there right now. So yeah, the only other thing is our press parts. Anything that we buy from Fournier will be significantly increased, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Morgan, I was actually also thinking about the potential impact on the significant investment in the wastewater treatment plant
Yeah.
that's still over the horizon, like.
Right.
So Holt Tanner will be
Yeah.
here on the 21st to talk to us about where we are on the everything with that. And I think that's a legitimate question to bring up to him.
Right. Yeah,
And part of my thinking is, assuming we go to bond and we don't want to end up going to bond and then not going for enough.
Yeah.
right.
I
That we
will
often-
say that the wastewater pump, the influent pump that we're looking at right now, that section is going out to bid. The one that I and Brad would really like to get is United States made.
Where's the metal come from?
It's made out in Oregon. I'm not sure, but it is American made, but
Yeah.
that's a legitimate question.
Are we looking at this bond being something that would go in front of voters in 26, 27, 28?
that
Do
was-
we know yet?
I think we were thinking next March.
Next March.
Yeah.
okay.
I think
And that's
so.
why I wanted Holt Tanner to come in
Yeah,
and give us a update on where we are and what we need to do.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, our plant is running really well, but it is in need of some care.
Oh, yeah.
if it was 27, I was just gonna say it could be
I do know that
totally different, but
in
26 would
the
be.
upgrade, the Penn Valley pumps that I asked her to put back in, those are made right here in the US and Pennsylvania also. Those are unbelievable pumps. I mean, the things that I have seen them pump and no damage to them. I mean, they pump our sludge and our septage and
And our disposable toilet wipes.
everything.
Screwdriver.
But,
Hunks of metal,
huh?
hunks of metal.
They are, but they're made right in, and the sole reason, Kirsten had asked to put something else in. And I was like, no, those Penn Valley pumps are amazing. They're so simple to work on. And believe it or not, they've re-engineered them to make them even easier to work on. So, they're a pump designed by an operator, really, it is the best way I can describe them. So, and they are made right in Pennsylvania.
So we also made some changes, some additions here. Let me get this off of the page break preview. This is the use of restricted and unrestricted funds for water. So we added in FY25 an upgrade of the electrical control panel in the pump house, which I think is mostly, no, we need to get that done still. And excavation to locate the Borden Street water valve, which we've known has been
Yeah,
we don't know where it is. We've known it for a while.
yeah. It came about in the first year I was here. Borden Street,
Affordable housing near the hardware store.
they tried to shut their water off internally, and couldn't, and asked us to shut it off.
And
And We have no clue. Brad and I have looked for like a week for it. We've used all the maps that we can come up with. We even brought in Rural Water and their locator guy, and we all lose it in the middle of that kind of area before Richmond Rescue there where it winds down. It's in there, but there is so much metal and so much other stuff in there, none of us can really locate it. So decision was made that we come back from the building in Borden Street and put the valve on the edge of the street where it essentially should have been.
Do you know like what time frame they put that in?
91.
Hmm.
We have the maps.
Okay.
We have a map, engineering map that shows right where it is, but it is not there.
Morgan, my question is, can you put a camera in? Wouldn't the camera see
No.
it?
Part of the problem is we don't even know what the material of the line is.
Oh, boy.
We assume that it's ductile or cast. But where we lose it, it must go to PVC or something, and we don't know. So we lose it very quickly coming from the building back, and we lose it really quickly as soon as it goes into the road. From where that fire hydrant, there's a fire hydrant that sets really low right there. So they hook onto the fire hydrant with a transmitter and they follow it, and like 6 feet into the center of the road there, it just disappears and you can't even tell where it goes. And then we started over at the other end from the building end where it comes in, doing the same thing. And that one, before it even gets over to the edge of the sidewalk, it's gone.
Maybe it's going through a wormhole to another universe.
Maybe.
What's the distance between those 2 points?
Well, that's the problem. It's not a straight line.
To start digging, right? No.
If it was a straight line, it would be easy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And then on top of all that, Railroad Street isn't owned by the town.
Right.
Borden Street isn't really owned by the town. That whole complex, we have one water meter for that whole complex. They own all their water infrastructure themselves. They own there are supposed to, I've never checked, but there's supposed to be curb stops for each house. And they had a water leak in one of the houses. They said they couldn't shut it off at the curb stop, and they went back to shut the whole complex down at the water meter. And they turned there's ball valves there, and they've turned them, and there was nothing. So yeah, it is an issue which will come up when one of the 10 water meters that need to be changed is Borden Street. Left. That's it. We're down to 10.
So back to the budget, where that leaves us is a projected end of FY25 balance of $147,000. 15% of the budget is 58,000. Sorry, it's a little small here. Let me see if I can get it a little bigger. See people straining. So it still leaves us $89,000 over 15% of the budget. So I think even with those repairs in water, we're doing okay budget-wise.
Okay.
On the wastewater side, we added in the cleaning of the digester. Steve and the crew have been doing a great job of getting the solids out, but you've essentially washed them into the digester. So now we need to vacuum out the digester and get all the solids out of the system. And then we want to purchase some additional filters for the final stage of the effluent treatment. So we have those on the shelf. Should we ever lose them again in a flood, we'll have them just be able to quickly replace, not have the illegal discharge. There again, that leaves us with a projected end of year balance of $203,000. 15% of the budget is 137, so we're still $65,000 over the 15%. So as we get into rates, we do have some money to play with if we needed to put some unrestricted money into the budget to offset rates.
Okay. That's encouraging.
Yeah, especially considering where we were, I think, the last 2 years when we said, we don't really know how much we're gonna have to spend. Steve's done a ton of work
Yeah.
to really like focus on the most urgent things and spend that money. And even after that, we're doing pretty good, I think.
Things are running smoothly. Thank you. Okay,
We're trying.
any further questions on what's been presented?
I just,
Oh, sorry, will we have the numbers for next time?
The rates, I should, yeah, because as soon as everything's into the system for the water usage for the end of March, then I can generate the rates out of that pretty quickly.
just for perspective, I don't remember the details, but a major bond just passed in Burlington, and I read something like rates are gonna double in Burlington.
Well,
And it's because it's big money.
wow.
Before they're done paying that bond off, I've heard as high as maybe 5 times what they are currently.
Holy cow.
How do you?
Yeah,
Well, they have,
major,
I saw one of the excavations and it was a line made out of brick.
Here,
They used to have some made out of wood.
for the sewer, yeah, they just filled in the old swale.
Yeah. I mean, so some of this stuff is
Yeah.
100 something years old.
they got their money out of it.
Yeah, well, that is really true. But we've said over the years, Dave will remember some of this in his previous stint here, that we've done a fair amount of work on our infrastructure. The wastewater treatment plant is still kind of an outlier, but a lot of our old pipes that used to break and leak a lot were down to a small number, like.
Yeah, like a reasonable number.
And you can still, if you get the, sort of emergency or urgent notices from Chittenden County, which I do regularly, you get something about a street in Burlington is closed because of a water line
But
break.
they were coming so often, I had to turn those off.
Yeah,
I was subscribed because my wife works like right down the street
Yeah.
from those, but they never stopped.
and they shut down, like, there was one that shut down the corner of Main Street and Prospect Street.
Yeah,
Kind of like a big deal to divert
I
traffic.
mean,
somewhere.
our infrastructure is in really good, our pipes, the in-ground infrastructure, I feel is in really good
And
shape.
we're on track to replace them all soon.
Right. But like Bart said, the waterhouse are little things. I mean, 15 grand isn't a little thing, but if you saw the control panel that's in there, you'd be like, how do you even know what goes where or how it, so there's little things that we're trying to make it better for whoever takes over in the long run. So they don't have to go through the wires one by one to find it, and there's a wiring diagram right there. But the wastewater plant is, the bones of it are great, but it needs some help.
Lucas.
Some water data.
Yeah, one quick
Smells good.
question. I'm gonna do a little tangent here.
Okay.
Funds are for approval for replacing the Baker Tilden water line.
That's held up.
That's the next on the agenda. Well, it's
Yeah.
coming up.
Finish this one, we'll go right to that.
All right, well, we want to get a water,
Let's do a water data.
water data quality review, quick,
And then,
look pretty good. It looked
Yeah.
pretty normal.
we're dealing with a little bit of an issue with the chlorine. Pump has given us a run for our money. Done a bunch of research. They no longer make parts for our pump. It is that old. The new models that are out, I mean, they make the equivalent. It is about $1,800 to $2,400, I think, for the equivalent pump that we have. I spoke about the LMI peristaltic pumps that I would like that everybody seems to be using now. There's two models that they gave me quotes on that would work in our system. They're both by the same company. The cheaper one is, so if you're looking at 2,400 for an LMI pump, the peristaltic pump starts at about 3,600.
Hmm.
And the more expensive peristaltic pump is going to be in the price range of 6. But that offers a lot more fine tuning to dosage, which, you know, they say you save your money because you're not overdosing all the time. But
Or
You know, that makes me think, Morgan, if we're gonna rebuild the plant for water, should we just bite the bullet and do that?
well, I'm wanna come, right now, we've got it stabilized and we're able to keep our numbers really well. But it was, I mean, I had to buy a rebuild kit, and really they're like, well, all these parts or some of these parts will work in your pump even though it's this old. And so we got a rebuild kit to work, and our pump is working really well. It's cut us some time. The thing with the peristaltic pumps, they will give us one for 90 days. We don't have to lay any money out, and if we don't like it, we can send it back. And then there's no, and I thought that was a really fair way to just see how our data went for 90 days, you know, that's 3 months worth of data. And if we liked it, we stay with it. If not, we'll have to buy a new pump from an LMI, but
Oh.
that's been the biggest issue. The fluoride is really simple. I mean, we can do that all day long. The state is happy with our numbers now. They've cut us down to only having to test twice a month.
Mhm.
So,
looks good.
yeah.
Questions, comments?
Trying not to take a lot of time on that.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Comes up again in a minute, so you'll have another chance.
Update on congressionally directed spending request for septage receiving upgrades not being funded in submission of 2026.
Yeah, so you might remember we went out, Hoyle Tanner helped us submit a couple of requests. They did get put forward by Senator Welch and Senator Sanders, but the budget that was passed at the federal level a few weeks ago did not include any congressionally directed spending, is my understanding, so including ours. However, both, I think Welch and I think Sanders both reopened for FY 26, and Hoyle Tanner has already applied for the Welch funding and will take the same application, basically give it to Sanders. So we shall try again, but I am not holding my breath given the current status of federal funded anything.
Anything.
Yeah, although we could certainly use it because it was about $4.4 million for septage upgrades to receiving. So it'd be great to have, especially in the overall grand scheme of wastewater treatment facility upgrades and that over $10 million bill. So we'll try again and we'll see.
Maybe it's buried somewhere in the SpaceX budget.
If there,
SpaceX budget.
is that something for the 2025 one that like if they start programs again, is that like it's done for this year?
I think
think
it's
that was in
not,
the
because
budget.
it was, yeah, like the things that might come back again are things I think that were approved that are being frozen through executive
Okay.
orders, whereas this was never approved
Never
by
approved, so it
Congress.
won't-
Yeah,
okay.
no, so I think our best shot is to try again next
Yeah,
year,
okay,
like the Red Sox before 04.
yep.
Better luck next year.
We have
Is Johnny Damon available to help with the water plant?
Oh, I've called them in, special, yeah, we'll have them right there. Now we're up to water meters.
We are pretty much kicked it. Like I said, we're down to 10 water meters left. We have, out of those 10, there are 4 of the 3/4 inch home size. We have a duplex on Pleasant Street, an apartment building up on East Main, and we have one homeowner on West Main that haven't responded to any of our. I mean, we posted them every day. We've called and left messages on their phone every day. I've been annoying telemarketer as you could be, and we get no response from any of those people.
Bart,
Is it an occupied building?
Yes,
you,
Brad has even handed the notice to people at the places, and no, they're like, we'll call you with and we give them a day and then we call and we get no answer. We leave messages and no return calls. And I mean, I've made the guys really be annoying. They go back and put a flyer on the door every day. And we still don't get any calls.
So sometimes if they answer, could you just be like, we're here to do your thing today?
They're ready to put a meter in anytime they go there.
Okay, so if the person was
It's not
like, you can do
like-
it right now.
Yeah, that's their first, that's the first thing
The
that
first
Brad
question,
might
okay.
say.
Just
We're
checking.
here to change your meter.
Yeah.
but he hasn't said that yet, right?
No,
Hasn't had the
And,
opportunity.
the other ones, the other 6 are large meters. The Buttermilk building is scheduled, well, we've had the plumber come out and take a look at it, and the plumber quote, we've approved it. He's supposed to be scheduling it and letting us know. Harrington's had asked us to wait till after the Easter rush,
Right.
which was acceptable.
Yeah.
So as soon as that's done, we can get theirs done. Richmond Terrace, they've been approved for almost 2 months, and then my understanding is the plumber is not dragging his feet, that they are.
Okay.
And the plumber told me last time I saw, he's like, I really want to do this because they have a leak.
Oh, they'd save money, yeah.
So, yeah, and the Congregational Church over here has to be done. Yeah, they have a large meter.
Are they making it difficult to get it done, or is it just?
No, I have held off on that one a little bit,
Okay,
till we get caught up. I mean, I'm trying to only we're down to just big meters and ones that need to have a plumber do because
Mhm.
the piping needs to be changed or something.
How much variation are you seeing on the new meters versus the ones they replaced?
Variations in,
like
Meter
meter
flow?
accuracy, how much?
some of them are dead on. Other ones, we're detecting leaks in a big way really quickly.
Well, that's
Like
good to catch, yeah.
mentioned some of the leaks, the Blue Seal building, the ski tuner building. Jericho Settlers Farm had a leak in theirs. They since have shut off, or they had a frost-free hydrant out near the barn, and that was leaking, so they discontinued it. And that seemed to eliminate their leak, which was 20 gallons an hour.
Ooh,
Every hour,
wow.
but that's not the big one. I mean, you think that's a big one? The Blue Seal building was using 3,500 gallons a day.
Jeez.
And it was a leaky toilet.
I'm sure Amy is really glad to know that.
Yep.
Wow.
So now when I have people, I've had some discussions with people, they're like, oh, we just had a leaky toilet, it was just leaking a little bit. How come my bill's so big? And I'm like, your bill's so
Drip,
big because
drip,
that leaky
drip,
toilet is
drip.
running exactly, 10 gallons an hour.
All
You-
day,
Yeah,
Every day.
yeah. And what I look at in when I go into the consumption for the daily usage on the water meters is I look at the hours between midnight and 4. And those hours you should see zeros. almost everywhere, you know, unless you've got somebody that's coming home or working late or, you know, going in early, those hours are zeros. And if I see water usage in those sections, that's when I start to notify people, you know, hey, you got an issue here because you're using water at 4 a.m. Well, I'm not up at, I'm like,
All right.
your new
Yeah.
water meter's telling you.
And with that, we'll move along
You want a
here.
Yeah.
quick Tilden update?
Tilden update, quick.
Yeah, so just to set context, this bond passed in March of 2023 for $1.9 million. And we have been just literally waiting on DWSRF's
Yeah.
final review. Every now and again, we get a little flurry of questions from them. Tyler usually has all of the answers within a day or two. Tyler Billingsley, the
I don't even
engineer.
think it's a day, it's
It's
within
pretty-
hours.
It's pretty quick. He flips it right back to him and then we wait. So we might need to see about getting a letter from the commission at some point to say,
Yeah.
hey, it's been this long. At this point, though, construction for the summer season's pretty much out the window because we would have had to be out to bid by January, February at
Yeah.
the latest for this coming season for a project of this size.
Would you put a letter together also, if it's of value, we can talk to Jana Brown.
Yeah,
And I think that she would make calls, I would hope.
yeah. Okay, well,
Okay.
I'll talk with Tyler and we'll see where we're at with that. Yep.
We'll have to postpone your superintendent report.
No.
Is everything working?
Everything's working. The press is not working right now. The incline screw that had gyros had redone and was working great. We turned it on Friday afternoon and it snapped right in the center.
Okay.
So nothing seemed to be binding on it. It just snapped. We pulled it all out, took it over this morning. We have it back. It's ready to go back in, all true and good and looks good. So we'll be back up and taking septic. One of the reasons that everybody is down right now for the big septage receivers in the area. So we were the only one open. Now we were down just today, but hopefully we'll be back up and running tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Items for next meeting agenda?
Morgan, one that I think at least I'd like to see at some point is the sort of site plan in our memo today. We referred to 23 easements on the Tilden Avenue project. And it would be worth, I think people would be interested to see what it looks like in terms of the actual location.
No, Tyler has that.
Yeah,
I assume he does. Yeah, it's just a matter of posting it and say, here it is.
Okay. And then the Tilden Avenue.
yeah, we'll try to talk about that. We'll look at budget and rates, Hoyle Tanner update as well.
Yeah, that's a full, I might need
That might need an earlier start time,
Should I move?
so we'll be in touch next week
Right.
as things develop.
I can.
Okay, if nothing else,
Move
call.
to adjourn.
Aye.
Bye.
Aaron, I.
Aye.
Yeah, we're
Motion
adjourned.
passes.
All right. Bye, everybody.